YouTube, Dawson Ryder here, and welcome to my review for Mighty Morphin issue 22, and this is effectively our last sort of main issue before we get to the issue 100 story and then the main refresher. And honestly, I think they ended on quite a high note. We left off with Kim and Tommy practicing in this sort of grid holodeck, testing out the metallic armor that's ready earlier than usual as it usually appears in the Season 3 timeline, as Kim wanted to sort of rush something out and ask Billy if he had anything, as she's very uneasy about the future after finding out about what happened to Tommy in the Shattered Grid timeline, and also after kind of thinking about how Rocky, Adam, and Aisha were able to so easily replace her former teammates. So she's just kind of really uneasy about the future, and she took all that into this battle here for like the training, and then all of a sudden these portals opened up, releasing these like spirit echoes of villains of future past, including Rancic and Void Queen and Trakina and so forth. And Tommy and her end up fighting him, and Rancic winds up striking Tommy down, but he does not become more powerful than you could possibly imagine, because like in this issue, Tommy does a really good job of paying homage to good Green Ranger Tommy in the show, which is just Tommy being carried around by his friends as he gets knocked down when someone like throws a toothpick at him. But anyway, they kind of escape the fight after Rancic strikes Tommy down in a way that's like an homage to the way he struck down Rancic. No, he didn't strike himself down. Alex, there we go. I knew he struck somebody down. It's kind of a reference to Time Force, obviously. Kim escapes with him for a second, and then they encounter, drumroll please, I don't know why I did that. That was a last-minute decision, and I regretted it. The pink emissary. So if you are confused as to why there's a pink emissary after we already established that there's 3 emissaries, this was a sort of retcon slash reimagining that we got in the Power Rangers Universe miniseries that revealed that there's actually 6 emissaries. So there's 3 we have not seen yet. They got a bit of a new origin story. A couple places in this video, I'll link, I did a video that explained what that is, like what happened with that. But basically, to simplify it, Legendary Squadron Rangers actually wound up turning into the emissaries. So I actually, even though it was a bit of a retcon and confusing, I actually kind of preferred Origin 2.0 from Universe just on paper, and so I'm glad that they're actually trying to connect that now. I thought that was pretty cool. The explainer for why the other emissaries didn't appear, at least as of now, what Pink said, basically, she's Michael Scott. She handles big picture stuff, and the other emissaries were Jim as manager in Season 6 day to day. Like, that was what she said. Exactly. She did not offer reference. No. But she said that she kind of handled stuff outside of the scope of main reality. But regardless, I like that we had that. She wound up awakening Kim's Shattered Grid memories because she thought like, well, you know, you would have been better off without these, or so we thought, but maybe now that you have the context, you'll be able to understand what happened. And so Kim's Shattered Grid memories are unlocked, and that kind of leads her to an epiphany. And her epiphany was this. No, speaking of offense references, kind of allows her to make peace with the future and realizing that she's not necessarily replaceable, and it's more about the Rangers that are going to build their legacy on top of them. I think even the emissary said that, like, the Rangers of the future will be inspired by you, and she sort of comes to peace with change, you know, and she has a conversation with Tommy later at the end of the issue too about she was so worried about change. Now she's not fearing it so much anymore because she knows that change doesn't necessarily mean loss. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It kind of reminded me of a line from, I know people don't like the ghastly year of Community, but Season 4's premiere Community, when Abed was worried about the future being different, and then he's like, but then I realized everything that I'm experiencing now was once different than I once knew, and it didn't end up being so bad. So it was kind of a nice story about accepting change and realizing it doesn't have to be bad, and it also kind of keys her up to leave, possibly, if they follow a version of the show's timeline still, which I have mixed feelings on. On the one hand, I really do like how the comics present us versions of these characters that have more in-depth reason for their decisions. Like, they already set up sort of why Zach and Trini might want to leave and flesh that out if they ever leave. They also set up a little bit about Billy, about why he would be okay being a part of the Ranger world but not being a Ranger. I do like that because it gives us an opportunity, like I said, to have a more fleshed out version of the character that makes these decisions rather than just in the show. But at the same time, you know, we're off book now. Shattered Grid changed the timeline. It's like a new version of reality. It's like a new 52 rebirth thing. So you have an opportunity to do something different. And I don't necessarily think that Kim needs to leave. I kind of wanted to see, like, what if Kim stayed in this timeline? So I'm kind of torn in the sense that I like fleshing out why Kim would leave if she leaves like she did in the original timeline. but I also want to see them do something different. Anyway, regardless of my personal thoughts on the future of that, I thought that was a really nice resolution to her arc. And also, you know, a big resolution in terms of like more an action-packed resolution to this issue was after that moment of clarity, she faces off against the Grid Echoes. Also, by the way, if you're wondering why those Grid Echoes exist, effectively Kim's negative energy and worrying brought about those storms because that holodeck thing is connected to the grid, and those echoes exist because all of those villains are villains that will fight Rangers in the future war for balance of the grid. Speaking of, because after Kim faces them, she's then able to morph, and she summons future echoes of the grids as well, and these sort of grid, like future past spirits of all of the Pink Rangers that will succeed her are there. I think the only one that's not really there is Zeo Kim. I'm not sure why, or Zeo Kim, Zeo Cat. Turbo Cat is there. I'm not sure why Zeo Cat isn't there, but regardless, it's kind of like Forever Pink. It's her version of Forever Pink. It's a pretty cool little version of it. I kind of like how we've had 3 different versions of Forever things now. Like, of course, we had the TV show Forever Red, but then the other 2 we've gotten in the comics were kind of unique, and they weren't just like, hey, the Ranger teams up with a bunch of Rangers in just regular reality. Like, Zack's was a multiversal Forever Black, and then hers is kind of a grid echo thing. And I thought it was a cool scene. A missed opportunity for them to some point say too much pink energy is dangerous, but still, it was a cool resolution to it, a cool way of acknowledging the legacy that Kim's going to build. And also, we got to see Chloe, Hyperforce. Anytime there's a Hyperforce reference, I'm happy about it. So I thought that was overall pretty cool. And then I also really just like how the grid mythology works, where the grid kind of exists all at once. So like these echoes of both the Rangers and the villains can exist now because like all of time at once is happening for the grid, and I kind of like timey-wimey stuff like that. There's also kind of a nice little bit at the end where they're trying to figure out a team name for the Rangers, since they're like, hey, the Omegas have their names, there's other Rangers in space apparently after they learned about Andros, we should have our own name, and they have all these different names on the board, and they don't quite come up with one, but it ends with the Rangers leaving, and Alpha is sort of, they zoom in on Alpha like waving goodbye, and his hand kind of eclipses 2 of the options, and it says Mighty Morphin. So they don't cheesily name themselves the Mighty Morphin Rangers, but it was a nice little nod to the fact that this is the end of the regular Mighty Morphin run. Because like I said, after this, we do issue 100, and then we do the refresher, which is just going to go back to being combined Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But this was a really strong issue. I like this issue a lot. I'm actually going to give it the fabled 5 out of 5. I thought it was a very strong conclusion to this Mighty Morphin version of the run. I thought it was a nice character-driven story for Kim, a really cool version of Forever Pink that, like, it was fan servicey, but it felt like it made sense for the story and wasn't just like a bunch of random empty rider suits there just to be there. It felt like it had meaning to it, and I thought it was pretty cool, and I like how they started to incorporate the mythology from Power Rangers universe as well. But what did you guys think of our Forever Pink? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you can get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.